Good evening, YouTube family. Tio here with Simplistic Fishing, back at you with Lake Lewisville, or Lewisville Lake, the technical way to say it, for another breakdown. This time we're running into Zone 2 for Lewisville Lake. We covered the southwest side of the lake last time. Now we're going to move east and a little bit north. So let's jump into this thing and see what we can uncover. All right, so here we go. We talked about Zone 1 in the last video. So if you missed that, just click the link up at the top. It'll take you back to that one, or just watch this video and maybe go back and check out Zone 1. But Zone 1 would be this area right here. So it'd be the western half. I think it was the Hickory Creek arm, would be all of Zone 1. So if you missed that video, again, take a look at that one. It covers all of that arm. So tonight, we're actually going to move over to Zone 2. So we're going to go over here to the east side of the lake, and we're going to see what we can uncover on this side. And then tomorrow, we'll dive into Zone 3, which takes us over here on the west side of the lake and up north. So with that being said, let's run back to Zone 2, and let's go ahead and let's just start right here at the where this little, I guess, old roadbed was. And let's start there, and then we'll work our way back, and we'll end down at the dam. So right here in this opening, the main thing that I saw here was really just some rocks. So might be a good area to fish around. You've got the hard spot where the roadbed used to be. You've got rock and things like that. So I could see this being a good area for the fish to be attracted to. And then if you get a little bit further back in here, you'll see that there is an old roadbed that runs through here. And I don't know if this is a ramp or a roadbed. It definitely looks like a roadbed. If it is, it would probably run through here, and you'd want to take a look at it. And then going back in this cove, didn't see too much as far as laydowns or anything like that to point out, but I definitely noticed a really nice creek channel back here. So if we go back here and we look at the creek channel, I've got it marked for you guys. It comes through here, has a real nice bend, so you could set up on these bends and fish all around the weed lines and things like that. Those could be a really good area to find some fish back in there. And then I'm going to pull out of that cove and move on over. A couple things that I saw over here. Again, saw some more rock back in here. So you'll see it right here. There was rock up here, but that looked like it was really too shallow to be fishing. Moving on up here, some underwater rock that came out here, debris. This looked like some big, like concrete cylinders or something like that. Can't really tell what it is, but definitely something that you'd want to fish around. And then moving on up the bank, not too much going on there until we get up here. And when we get up here, a couple different things that I noticed here. One, you've got these posts from an old dock or something like that. Those are always good to set up on, to pitch around, things like that. You never know. Sometimes you can pick up a nice one at the bottom of those, or just suspended in the water around those posts. Then you've also got a drain that you'll see here that's underwater. That looks pretty attractive. And then a small little rock pile that's over here to the right. That might be a really good one to fish as well. And then another one just right above it. And then as we move on up here, we're going to go on up into these next two coves. Didn't see much going on there, but did find some additional rock that was up here. This one's a little bit shallower, but definitely the water comes up to it. And some pretty decent rock right in here too. It's hard to tell that it's there, but you've got a little bit of rock there. And that pipe could be interesting too. Sometimes they like to relate to those pipes. So take a look at that if you're fishing in that area. Then as we move up here, another rock pile that's just kind of out off the point. The water's usually up here, so this rock pile is a little bit offshore, not too much, but that could be a really good area to take a look at to try to see if you can find some bass in that area. And then as we move over here, a lot of nothing going on in these bank lines, but if you get over here, you notice there's some rock going through here, and out here it's scattered in this area. So this could be a pretty neat area, maybe to go back and throw some Carolina rigs, things like that, and drag them around those rocks, or some medium diving crankbaits, depending on how deep this is, and go and just bang them off those rocks and see what you can find there. That could be a good area to take a look at. And then as we're moving up here, we get up here by the highway. Really, we're just more rock pointing out here. Obviously, you'd want to fish around the edges of these highways. I'm not sure if this one still looks the same, but just fish around the pillars, fish around the rock that's around these main highways. Those are always good areas to fish. And then going back in here, you'll notice this old State Highway 24. You'll see that the roadbed just pretty much ends right here, and you can follow it. You can see a little bit of concrete left and things like that. So you know that highway went straight through here somewhere and probably connected over in this area somewhere in here. Maybe it turned somewhere, not sure, but just follow that roadbed. There's a roadbed out there for sure, because you can tell that it's there. And then moving on up here, didn't see too much going on in here. A little bit of a creek channel back in here, but nothing too crazy. And I think it would be really obvious if you were back here where that creek channel was. You got a little bit of a ledge here, but I think the water only goes up to that ledge, so really not too much to worry about there. But if we get back in here, this looks really cool. You've got a whole lot of nothing going on everywhere. And then all of a sudden, right off of this little point, the secondary point, you've got some really good rock. So I'd imagine that rock probably goes further down in there. Definitely a hot spot to find bass in that area. This point looked interesting just because it had a different color, but I don't see any rocks or anything like that that really stick out to me. So I didn't mark the point, but it is kind of curious. I'm curious why that point's a different color. Could be a good transition bank or something like that, if there's any rock or something, but maybe it's just the color of the mud. And then as we get up in here, there really wasn't too much going along this bank line. You may want to check out these little humps though. This one here, this little point that comes out, it's got some debris on the top of it, some cover. There was another one that was right back over here that you can barely see. It doesn't really have much on top of it like the other one does, but this one looks like it could be interesting to fish, depending on the time of year and things like that. Now, obviously there's a bunch of stumps over here, so you got to be super careful as well. And then as I move back up in this cove, didn't see too much going on, but again, here we go. We've got more rocks that are hidden back in here. Stumps all over the place, but you got some rocks that are back in here that are kind of off this point, really big rocks too. So these look like they could be juicy. And then we get back in here, we've got some more of those rocks, just a smaller rock pile. Actually, it's not even a rock pile, just a giant rock. And then up here, you've got some more rocks off this point too, with a little bit of a ledge that's over to the side of them. So just some interesting stuff that was back there. And then as you're back here, once you're pretty much committed, you could always come back here too and fish this creek channel that's been marked as well. And that'll take you all the way back up underneath that bridge. So a lot of good stuff going on that side of the, that side of the cove. So coming back down, we'll come around. I didn't see anything off this main point here, but coming back in here, there is an old ramp that's back here. You'll see it right here. That could be good. You got some rocks up here. I'm not sure if the water gets up to those rocks, but if it did, it'd be a good shallow diving crankbait, something like that. And then moving back in here, we've got another pretty significant creek channel. So I marked around it so you could see where the bends are. This area right in here could be a good area. This little bend here, this bend here. So there's all kinds of good spots around that creek channel that you could fish. And then as we move here where that makes the Y, we move over here, there's another creek channel. So I went ahead and marked it as well. Now this one to me looks more interesting because it's more defined. It looks like it's probably a little bit deeper and it's a little more defined. It's not as wide. It's a little bit more narrow, so it'd be easier to fish and easier to hone in on where the fish are. So if I was gonna fish one of these two creek channels, it would definitely be the one down here, but you never know, that one up there might be the best one. But just look at the map, this would be the one that I would start with. Then I'm gonna just keep on moving down. A couple different things that you'll see in here, and I mentioned it on the last video. Instead of saying lay down, I'm just gonna put LD for lay down because lay down doesn't fit on our graph. So I'm just gonna put lay down there, and that's for the SD cards. So if you wanna buy an SD card, please do so, help support the channel. Simplisticfish.square.site. You can go out and get a card for Lewisville Lake and several other lakes that I broke down. And I'll continue to add those out there as we move along. So we've got a lay down here off of this point. That one looks pretty good, looks pretty juicy, pretty big. And then we've also got another drain that's back here. And remember what I said on the last video, or if you didn't get a chance to see the last video, anytime you see these drains, there's typically a ditch that's very close by. So take a look at the ditch and the drain, see what you can find in that area. Maybe you can catch you a lunker in front of the people swimming if you can get back in there. All right, then back over here, you've got an old boat ramp right in here. Bunch of people sitting on it. So this looks pretty cool. And if we move this up to say 2019, look how far out that ramp is. I mean, it just looks totally different. It just amazed me at how much different everything looks. But you've got a lot of good underwater stuff that you can fish on this lake. You just got to get off the bank. It looks like if you get off the bank, you'll be able to catch some more fish here. And you don't even have to get that far off the bank, 10, 15 feet off the bank, and you're probably in the right spot. So let's get back. Let's move back to where we were. That was, I believe it was October of 2013. Yeah, so October 2013 is what we're looking at. So we're going to go here. That was that ramp we talked about. Another ramp there. You've also got a ramp that's out here. And some debris that's over here as well. right off of this point that looked pretty interesting. I don't know if that's an old road bed or what it is, but definitely very interesting. And it'd be cool to see what it looks like now. I guess we can look real quick, see what it looks like now in 2021. So let's move this up to 2021, or it looks like that's the latest one we have is 2020. So in November of 2020, this is what it looks like now. And if you're like me and you like fishing offshore, a little bit off the bank, so you can use your graphs and things like that, what I'm seeing here is a lot of juice. I see rocks out in the middle of the lake, rocks here in the middle of the lake, more rocks, a boat ramp I can fish, some debris that's way out here, another boat ramp that's way out here in the water, some ramps, some laydowns. I mean, just a lot of good stuff here that's definitely underwater. Now, if I look at it from just a bank standpoint, it looks like it'd be a little bit of a rough lake to fish just because there's not that much cover on the bank line. So I'm going to move this back to 2014. If I can eventually get there, October 2013. Let's keep going. So we talked about the rock and the ramp that was there as well. We come off here. There were some birds setting out over here, or not birds, there was a boat setting out here. I thought it was actually like some rock or something. Then when I zoomed in, I realized it was nothing. So then we move up here, don't see too much going on. We do have those stick ups that I talked about, so make sure you check those out. Depending on if they're close to a point or close to a creek channel, go and flip into them and see what you can find. There's a pretty nice ditch that's back in here. That's pretty well defined. Maybe it's an old creek channel or something like that, but very well defined. And when the water's up, it's usually up here. So you got a pretty decent ditch that's there as well. And some decent cover that's around there too. Then as we move on down, not seeing too much on this bank line here, but there is an old boat ramp back behind this, where this marina is. Not sure if that marina is still there, but you do have the boat ramp that's there. So you could definitely fish that. And then as we move on back into this cove, there were a couple more things back here I wanted to show you. One was this ramp that's right here. This one could be an old roadbed too. I think it's a ramp, but again, some of these I put ramp and they could be roadbeds. Either way, it's a big, huge piece of concrete that's probably either being used actively by the boats, which is good because it's stirring up the water and stuff like that, or it's growing all the algae and has all that rock around it, which is also good. So either way, you're good. If it says ramp or roadbed, you need to go fish it for sure. So then we're going to move up this cove a little bit. And here again is an old roadbed that comes across here. So I just put RB for roadbed. But in between here, you also have these bridge pillars, or not bridge pillars, old bridges. So this kind of reminds me of Lake Ray Hubbard, where if you go up on the 66 side, it has basically a similar thing, two different culverts with bridges cover them, and then an old roadbed. And they catch a lot of catfish and crappie up there. And I've heard of people catching bass up there as well. So take a look at this area. That could be good. And then you've also got a creek channel that comes back in here as well that you can see that has been marked as well. So we're going to scroll down that cove and we're going to go over here to the right side. We've got another creek channel on this side. I went ahead and marked this one for you. This one looks like it could be some flipping and stuff. It looks like it has some stick ups, stuff like that. Could be interesting to fish. There's not a lot of stuff around the area, so I could definitely see them relating to that creek channel. So if we move on back down in here, there's an old ramp here that's hidden. Again, this could be a roadbed too. It's really hard to tell what it is, but it looks like maybe it was an old ramp or something like that. Now I was hoping the water came all the way up in here, but I think it only comes up to about right here. So this actually isn't underwater. And if we keep moving on, scroll out just a little bit so I don't make you guys too dizzy. We're going to go past this point. I didn't see any laydowns or anything that really caught my attention. The only thing that I really liked here are these two little points right here. You'll see this one here. And I'll probably more than likely be talking about this when we go into the offshore spots. Even though this really is still connected to the bank, a lot of people see this as being offshore. So I definitely fished this little point here. You can see there's actually some shells on it or something like that. See these little white things? I don't know if those are shells. Those might not be shells, but rocks or something. There's something a little bit harder on top of this point that would definitely be worth taking a look at. And then if we scroll over and we look at this other point, it's kind of the same thing. This one doesn't have as much debris on it like that other one did, but still kind of a long point, a long arm that's coming out and getting really close to the deeper water. So both of those places would be good places to check out. I just didn't put a waypoint on them because there's really nothing there to put a waypoint on per se for what we're doing here. So moving up, we got some shallow rock that's around this point that would definitely be worth fishing around. You got some more that's up here too. So you can tell the lake was really down when they took this image. And then over here, there's another ramp. And then as we move back further into this cove, there's some rocks that are hidden back in here. So you can see them here. Those could be really good too, you know, good place for them to set up on before they get way back in that cove, or a good place for them to come out after in the back of that cove and kind of eat up on some crawfish and stuff like that before they head out to feed on the shad. So some more rocks in here too, off the point. Moving over here, this one looks pretty good. I put rock, but this is like debris or something. It's either a huge boulder or it's some kind of concrete or something like that. But I just put rock there. It's definitely a hard spot, and it's off of a point, so that can only be good. And then here you've got some scattered debris that's out here. These look like concrete slabs or something like that. It looks real interesting right off of this point. So take a look at that too. That could be a really good spot to find a good fish. Then I'm going to move up in here. We got a couple more things I want to show you. We got some tires that are up here. I don't know if I'd go back in this cove because there's just not a lot going on in here, but there is this little group of tires. So you never know. Sometimes those random spots that nobody would ever go to are the spots where you'll pick up your fish. So maybe come back here and fish that group of tires and just see if you can pick something up off of them. I can definitely see them relating to it for sure. And if we get back in here, you got a really interesting area. You got a little creek channel that comes through here. This looks like it used to be an old pond of some sort with a little creek channel that comes through there, but it wasn't significant enough for me to mark. But I did like this right here where you've got the pond dam, so you've got breaks on both sides, and then you've got that little pinch point that's right there between the pond. So I went ahead and marked that because those are always good spots to take a look at. I'm gonna move on out of that cove and come over here. There was some rock off of this bank line. This looks like it doesn't go too far into the water, but there is a significant amount of rock that's out here. And let's take a look at that in 2021. I want to see what this looks like because this whole thing here just kind of boggles me on what in the world it is anyways. So let's take it up here to 2020. I guess it's like a little fire pit they have right by the water, but definitely some good stuff to fish around. Look at all this good rock. Definitely right up there by the water. Good stuff around this point. I'm liking all of it. Looks really good. So let me take us back to October of 2013. We're going to keep on moving down. So moving in here, don't see too much going on there. I'm going to keep moving on down this bank line. A couple things here that I want to show you are those ramps. So we've got a ramp that's right here. That, or it's like an old roadbed or something like that. A lot of good rock in this area and stuff like this. This whole area looks totally different. So hate to keep jumping back and forth, but I want to show you guys this. If we come up here, you can tell it's a hot spot because there's a boat on it, but look how much different that whole thing looks. I mean, completely different than what we just looked at when we were looking at it from 2013. So a lot of difference, but the good thing is that is a lot of underwater structure that could be really good to fish around. So go out there, take a look at this area. This, to me, would be a prime spot for me to go to if I were to go out there and try to fish around some stuff. Now, I talked about this in the last video today. I'm originally from Missouri, so I like doing ledge fishing and stuff like that. And when I say ledges, people from up there would probably laugh at me and say, you don't really have ledges where you're at, Ty. You know, maybe further south or out west or something like that, but you don't really have ledges here. But this is as close to the ledge as I could find. So you can see it does have some shadows, so it's got some break here. This looks like it could be interesting. So I put ledge here, call it whatever you want, rock, ledge, drop off. I don't care what you want to call it. Just go over there and fish it because it looks like it's worth fishing for sure. And then come over here, you see kind of the same thing. You've got this, I put ledge again, but again, seems really good breaks that are here. So I could see you dragging it off the top and then just dropping that and then them setting right against that wall and chomping down on you. So definitely take a look at that stuff. These look really good. I can see shell beds being out on here too. So just all kinds of good things going on around those points. Got another one right over here that I marked as a ledge, and you guys that ledge fish, truly ledge fish, don't laugh at me too much because I know that's not a ledge, but it's a ledge for right now. All right, so moving on here, look at this. This is a juicy one. We got a nice ramp inside here, got some good rock beside it, everything like that. Again, we take that up to 2020 or 19, and what do you know? There's a boat sitting on it, and it's right there where that ramp is. So it's funny how every time I find a good spot on this map on Lake Lewisville, there's a boat sitting on it. Just kind of cracks me up. This lake is very, very pressured apparently. So there is some good debris here too. So look at this. I don't know what this is, but this looks really good. You got a concrete pad here, some additional debris. And if we move that up to 2019, well underwater, nobody knows it's there. Go over, scan it, fish it. Could be a honey hole for sure. Take a look at it. And did you notice that time there was not a boat on it? So that's a good sign. At least for that day, you could have went and fished that spot all by yourself. Now, as we move on down here, a couple more things I want to show you. And I think we're getting fairly close to the dam down there. Yeah, so we'll finish over here in this pocket, and then we'll finish at the dam to end the video. So moving up here, didn't see a lot going along this bank line. Just not a lot going on. There could be some flipping opportunities, things like that. You know, look for buckbrush on this lake. Look for stick ups, like I said, that are close to creek channels or close to points, and that'll put you in good shape. Or run the ramp pattern or run the rock pattern. All of those could work for you. So going up in here, we get a little bit further into this pocket. There was a nice creek channel that was back here, so I went ahead and marked that. You can see it coming through here. I'm sure once you get to the bridge, you know exactly where it's at. It was really, really straight, but I like that bend that's right there on the end of it. So maybe take a look right in there. Let me move this over so you can see it. Take a look right in there. All right, then moving up here, you've got an old ramp too out here, or an old roadbed. I can't tell if this is a ramp or a roadbed, and you've got a ramp here as well. And again, looking at that, you know, in today's times, this is going to look a lot different when you pull up there. Looky there, another boat on our spots. So they must have known that Simplistic Fishing was going to be making this video back in 2013 and decided they wanted to be on camera. That's the only thing I can figure out. All right, that was a bad dad joke, but anyways, I like to humor myself. All right, so we're going to move on down here. We've got a ramp that's over here. Actually, a couple ramps. This could be a really good spot too. And then moving on down this bank line, not too much going on there, but there are these couple ditches that I wanted you guys to check out. So I think that Spectrum's having a little bit of a tough time catching up with me here, but it will get there here in a second, and we will show you guys what this looks like. But there is a ditch there that you definitely want to take a look at. Let's see if we can move it to a different date. Maybe get you a better image going on here. There we go. So there's a really significant ditch that's right here. So take a look at this. This almost looks like a hard spot here too. So that can be good. And there's a little bit of a drop here. You know, it's shallow, but I could see them collecting up in this spot. So definitely take a look at that spot. There's another one that's right down here that's very similar to it as well. This one's a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker, and looks like it has a little bit more drop. It's just some kind of a drainage ditch that comes from back there, but you can see it has really dug into the earth and made a really nice ditch to be able to fish. So take a look at those. Those can be good spots sometimes, and they're not obvious to find. A lot of times they're really hard to find, but thanks to Google Earth, we're able to pick those up pretty easily now. So then moving over here, we're going to move up. There is another, I put a ditch here. You can call it a creek channel, whatever. It could be a creek channel because it's coming out of the pond. So the pond was probably dammed up from the creek, and then the overflow comes through here. So you can call this a creek channel, call it a ditch, whatever it is. It's pretty significant, and you can see that it swings up against this bank right here. So I would fish in this little pocket right here. This looks like it could be pretty good. So take a look at that. And then again, you've got the pond dam over here that we talk about all the time. Fishing those pond dams in the summertime can be good places to fish. And that one too, you know, pre-spawn, post-spawn can be a good area as well. You got another ramp that's over here off the point. This one will be totally underwater. I would imagine if we take it back up here to 2019, yeah, pretty much completely covered underwater. So you would notice it was there. But if you have these marks, they'll be there. And then let's move it back to 2013 again. Let's move back in here. Not sure if you can get the boat back in here. I think you can. Looks like you can. There's another ramp that's back here. This one looks like it's probably active. And then you've got some really good creek channels that are back here. So here I marked the creek channels. These have pretty good ditches to them. Another like creek channel that comes up here too, but it looks like the main one comes through here and cuts down. So I marked that. This little area right here, I wasn't really sure because it's not really that clear where that channel goes, but it looks like it comes right down this line and then makes a hard swing right here and connects with that one before it goes down. So if you're looking at this from a fishing standpoint and you're saying, well, where do I fish? Do I fish that whole creek channel or not? Yeah, you could fish the whole creek channel, but your high percentage of spots are going to be when it makes that bend or makes that turn, because usually you'll have a little bit of a drop there. It's just different. Some debris will collect there and stuff like that. So if you're looking at this and saying, where would you want to fish? I would start right here, dead center, where that bend is, and then work your way either up or down, whichever way you want to go. I really like the fact that it's pretty well defined up in here, but it would depend on how high that water gets. So let's take a look real quick. Yeah, the water doesn't get up there. So even though that's really well defined, it doesn't look like the water actually gets up there, but down in here it could be really good. So that bend right there that we talked about is probably your key spot to fish on that particular creek channel. So I'm going to come back here to 2013, and we're almost going to wrap up the video here. We got another ditch that's right here, so take a look at that one. That one's not as significant as the other ones. And then we got a couple more ditches that are down in here. So you'll see a nice ditch that's down in here. You've also got a ramp that's back in here, another ramp over here, some additional rock that's around this point, along with the ramp too. So if I go here, you'll see you got a ramp here, and some additional rock. That's that old ramp, I believe, that I was talking to you guys about. So it's going to look a little bit different. And really that wraps us up for the day, guys. That covers us for zone 2. You've got the riprap on the dam. Make sure to stay tuned, because tomorrow we're coming back at you with zone 3. And don't forget, you can find these cards at simplisticfish.square.site. Until next time, hope you catch your PB. Take care.